And we're back wearing the same things as last week. Guys, we haven't changed for a whole week.
I haven't changed in a whole week.
Just kidding. This is the same night. We're stocking up on podcasts tonight.
We gotta go to Australia for YouTube FanFest.
So we won't be in town when this podcast is up. That's why we're doing it ahead of time. So we are not filthy. We're not wearing the same clothes all week. No need for those comments. But we just had a great podcast, and now we're going to do another awesome one.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by MeUndies.
MeUndies!
MeUndies, some of the most comfortable underwear in the entire world at MeUndies.com. Go check them out. Twice as soft as cotton, guys. That's a pretty sweet claim. MeUndies.com/Jenna Julien gets you 20% off your first pair.
And they've been a great supporter of our podcast.
Awesome supporter.
Thank you, MeUndies.
And I love when you guys tweet us that you got some MeUndies because
it supports us.
It helps out the podcast.
MeUndies,
and thank you, MeUndies.
Thank you.
So,
I'm ready for this. I'm so ready for this. Because we usually do this the other way around.
Yeah. Well,
I'll be like, Julian, I really, really want to talk about something right now. And, you can have, like, your thoughts and maybe play devil's advocate if you want to. But, like, I'll just think of something that I really want to talk about. Julian, right now, has come to me and was like, I have something I want to talk about.
Yep. I wanted to talk about Miley Cyrus.
All right, I'm ready to poke holes and or agree with you and or disagree with you. All of them.
I'm very frustrated with Miley Cyrus lately.
All right, well, where do you want to start?
Let's see. Well,
to be fair, the VMAs were last night.
That's what I was just going to say. We're a day removed.
Yeah.
We're a day removed right now from the VMAs.
But when you see this podcast, it'll be
a week removed.
About a week ago.
I've been fed up with her for a little while. Okay. This was just kind of the straw that made me want to make a podcast about it.
Question off the top.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Billy Ray's performance at the VMAs?
He killed it, as always.
That he did. I was dying laughing when I saw him in those sunglasses, and oh my God, I was living. I was just living.
Okay. I am fed up with Miley Cyrus.
Okay.
I'm fed up with her shtick, and I wrote something out called the subsections of Miley's failing shtick.
Okay. Sounds harsh, but okay.
Which are a bunch of reasons why I think what she's doing is completely the opposite of what she thinks she's doing.
Okay.
So, I guess we'll start it off with, she thinks that she's so in touch with everyone in pop culture that she makes herself further out of touch than she even was to begin with. And this applies to any entity to which she attaches herself with. So, what this means is when she is in the public eye and says something, say hosting the VMAs. I'm going to use that example a lot. When she says something that she thinks is clever and funny, and in reality, it's not. It's not clever, nor funny, nor relevant. And she, in her own mind, 100% thinks that she's doing a good job. She's being a pop culture star. She's pleasing the crowd, and she's being smart and quippy. When in reality, it's so not funny and it's so not relevant and not with the times that it's like, wow, that was a great example of how completely wrong and out of it you are in your brain. So the example I have for that, when she makes a comment like, hey, Justin, call me when you're legal, like she did last night at the VMAs or a week ago for you guys. It shows how both she thought that quip was clever or funny, while also somehow properly timed, which was the second part of why I hated that. In my opinion right now, Justin Bieber is the most appealing to me he's ever been. He seems to be pretty apparently moving past his teenage shenanigans. And more importantly, he seems to be really taking his music seriously and his craft seriously. And I can respect that. And to be honest with you, I've been enjoying everything he's put out in the last around year. I think a lot of people are starting to have him grow on them. I can't help respect what he's doing. He made a pretty awesome return to the VMA stage. He hadn't been there in a bunch of years. He came back and killed it, in my opinion. He did an awesome job singing, and even more importantly, a fucking dope-ass job dancing, which we all know he was not that great of a dancer at one point. So he's clearly been working hard. And after he finished the song, he broke down and he started to cry because it was such an emotional moment for him. He realized, like, he kept it together, he did a great job, and he returned to the stage, and in his mind, and it was an awesome experience. And it was so visceral that he broke down crying. And not even like a 30 milliseconds later, Miley comes on with that joke, like, call me when you're legal. First of all, how old is Justin Bieber? He's like 22 right now.
I don't know. I'll look it up.
Look up how old he is.
I will.
The joke is outdated. It's been made thousands of times before when he was young and people would talk to him like that.
He's not under 18.
He's not under 18, not even close to under 18. That's not a funny joke. It's not even an accurate joke. And it's not a joke that's never been made. It's been made 100 times way before that. Instead, she felt like it was a necessary moment to interrupt someone like she did throughout the show and make it another cringe moment.
He's 21.
He's 21. 4 years ago, maybe that joke would have been relevant. Not even though, because everyone had already said it a million times. Hey, Justin, call me when you're legal. So that kind of joke where she thinks she's being clever, like she's clearly so. I'm not going to say she's high because I don't know if she was high, but she's clearly so like altered all the time that she's so out of touch to the point where she's going to say something like that. Not only just in general, but at a moment where it was so not welcomed. That is number one.
Okay. Should I give you a response?
If you want to combat everything I have, then you can do that.
For the sake of fun, I'll give you a response.
Really fun, but...
No, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and I understand what you're saying. I do think that some of her jokes weren't really jokes. They were kind of cringy. To her own credit, I think that she's young and she's a musician. She doesn't do hosting gigs. And I think a lot of the content that they were making, like the pre-recorded segments, we're all sort of playing off of the same joke, which is that Miley likes to do a lot of drugs.
That's my next point.
I think that she did an incredible job given the fact that she's a young girl herself with a lot of pressure on her shoulders to host an entire award show when there hasn't been a host in a couple of years, and that she hasn't done anything like that before.
Do you think she did an incredible job hosting?
I didn't say incredible. I think she did incredible given the circumstances of who she is. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't the worst. It wasn't not entertaining. I was entertained. And I, for one, just in general, I think I know where you're going with most of your argument. I think that she is not trying to be relevant in...
Okay.
What?
No, I just like you're hitting on a bunch of points that I'm going to say.
Okay.
So maybe I should just read all my points and then have you rebuttal.
Go ahead.
Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay.
Totally down with that.
Okay, cool. All right. So number 2, so advocating for weed is one thing. Being a living, breathing billboard of why it can be stupid is a completely different thing. And I thought she's not only, like, last night was a great example because every fucking joke that she made on the stage, in the sketches, everything was weed. And I was like so fed up. I was like, this is not funny. It wasn't funny the first joke because, weed jokes can be funny, but they weren't. They weren't funny. They were overplayed. They were overdone, overused. And like everyone is expecting you to be like, everyone is expecting you to make a weed joke. Why do you have to do it over and over? Like, be something that you are not going to become a caricature of, like, in 2 seconds. Because right now you're a living, like I said, a living, breathing example of why weed has a bad name next to it. Okay? Not saying I don't like weed, or I don't smoke weed, but not saying I don't advocate for weed or being legal. I'm not putting a stance on that. All I'm saying is she is not giving it a good look. She's not being a great ambassador for the plant, if you will. Okay. Point number 3. Her staying relevant any way possible is only made possible by feeding the freak show, i.e. MTV asking her to host. I'm sorry, but there were so many other people that could have hosted the VMAs and not made a mockery of themselves, not made a mockery of their generation, of a drug, of so many things. I was just so, like, over it. And I was like, you know what, I'll give her a chance. I'll see what she does. Maybe she hosts well. Maybe she wins me back or makes me feel like, you know, she's at least a little in touch. Nope. She completely confirmed every belief I didn't want to have, that Miley is just so far gone down the rabbit hole of being drugged out or being just kind of insane a little bit. And MTV allowed that to happen by asking her to host. So she's only going to be as relevant as people let her. If she gets gigs because people want to be like, hey, we have this crazy polarizing like Miley who's like clearly lost her mind a little bit, she's going to host our award show. Isn't that great? Yeah, people are going to watch, but it's kind of a circus. It's not like a real host. It's not quality television. It's not something that you're watching while not cringing at. You're cringing the whole time. Okay? So a little of the blame is on people like MTV who feed it. Number 4, she makes a mockery of actual provocative and talented figures such as Lady Gaga. I think Lady Gaga is very talented. She's kind of a pioneer. She's nothing like anyone has ever been, in my opinion. And both with her music, with her presence, with her outfits, with all of her performances, she is something that's very, very different. And you look at something like Lady Gaga, and if you're an artist, you could be inspired by it and you could say, wow, that is very cool. Whatever she's doing, I don't know how to put a word on it. I don't know how to put it in a box because you can't. But whatever it is, I like it. I'm inspired by it. That's one thing. Another thing is to make a mockery of it, which is what I think Miley is doing. With all of her outfits last night, those just screamed to me, put me in the same category as Lady Gaga. Look at me like you look at her when she comes out in an outrageous outfit. Like, I want to be Lady Gaga so bad, except you're not going to walk the walk. You're not going to put out an album all year. You're not going to get any respect from anyone. Even if Lady Gaga pisses people off, she's fucking talented, period. Our food just got here, so I think they're barking at that. And I feel like it's frustrating for me because I see right through it. And I think a lot of people can see right through it. Should we go out there for a sec? Or,
sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back. But we'll take a quick break. All right, sorry, we are back.
I'm just starting now, I guess, to write down some thoughts.
Okay, so I just finished, I think, the Lady Gaga portion. I think it really just comes down to everything about those outfit changes and the fact that, I mean, I'm not going to get to the nip slip yet. That'll come later. Everything about her outfits and it just really felt like she wanted, like, there's so many things that I'm like really frustrated because she really like made me upset last night. There are so many things that Lady Gaga did to get to where she is now. She made music, real music, incredible music. Not saying Miley's not capable of that. She made a lot of really crazy music videos. She's literally showed up at award shows, at performances, looking like an insane person with what she was dressed as. She's, in every sense of the word, wore her brand on her sleeve as much as she could. And I felt like Miley just skipped all that and just dressed crazy and was like, look at me like you're looking at Lady Gaga. That's how it felt. She didn't say that. That's how it felt. Next point. Her attempts at making news / getting people to talk about her / doing shocking things are not calculated. They're a byproduct of her constant last-ditch efforts at staying relevant, i.e. the nip slip. When people do things like publicity stunts and weird things that are going to make people freak out and talk about them for weeks, normally they're at least a little bit calculated. And by calculated, I mean it was thought through someone's brain at least once. The way that nip slip went last night, and I don't know for a fact, this is just my opinion, is Miley was naked because she was changing, and she was like, oh, I'm not ready. Why don't I just hold the curtain up to myself and maybe I'll accidentally, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like she kind of just in a instance last night was like, what if I do this? People will fucking talk about it. Like, it wasn't calculated. It was stupid. It wasn't tasteful. It was like watching a middle-aged person who's started to lose it a little bit and has desperately tried to fit in with a young generation. We all know that person. We've all seen that middle-aged person who's gone a little bit out of their minds and tried to just seem cool, but then been so apparently out of touch and like, wow, this is bad. Like, stop. Miley feels like that. Miley feels like that person who's kind of lost it. And she is so past not having an idea of where to be in pop culture that she's like actively pushing herself further away from being taken seriously or respected. Last point, it's not really a point, it's just a note. She's not polarizing, she's just annoying. That's what I got.
Okay. I'm going to try my best to unpack most of your points as much as I can, but I missed some of the beginning ones because I wasn't writing them down. I thought it was going to be maybe easier to remember everything that you said, and then I didn't. I blew it. First thing, I agree with your Justin Bieber points. There's some speculation as to whether or not this image cleanup that he's going through is genuine or not, or if he's just trying to clean it up and reap the benefits of that. There's speculation that they're not sure that he's actually changing, that he's doing it because it's not a good look anymore.
Totally fair. I do want to say that I'm buying into it.
Right. And I agree with that point 100%. I think that he is, so clearly at least putting in a lot of work into his career and just doing the best that he can to make better decisions as an adult.
Yeah.
And I think that he's making good music and you know doing good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, the point you made about the jokes. First of all, let me just say about the jokes again. As I was saying earlier, I think that these were things that were orchestrated for her, and they were all harping on the same point. Do I think that Miley just sits around and takes drugs all day? No. I think that she likes to smoke recreational marijuana. I like to think that for someone with a schedule like she must have, obviously she'll have time off and things like that, but it's not like she's sitting around doing drugs all day. It's just not possible with a schedule like that to, just be tripping your fucking balls off. I like to think that she plays it up, that is her image, that she's a free spirit and that she just does drugs and makes fucking arts and crafts at home. I think that that's having people believe that that's what her life entails is only helping the brand that she's trying to get across right now. Do I think that she actually can? No. Just like I wasn't buying for 1 second that Kesha was really brushing her teeth with Jack Daniels when you're on Good Morning America at 5:30 in the fucking morning. It's just not possible. You can't be drunk and be doing these things. Yeah. Or else you get caught. You know what I mean? I do think, however, that it was a misstep on MTV's part to play into the whole drug thing over and over and over again. Like, at what point did someone not say, hey guys, isn't this joke a little tired?
I thought the Instagram bit was funny.
Andy Samberg.
That was like, because it was genuine. It was like, it was a cool idea. And it was funny because it's like, you look at her Instagram and you're like, what the fuck is this? So it was a funny joke. That was the only one that I liked. And it was like not even her. It was them.
Right. The Snoop Dogg bit was really awful. And some of the other ones weren't as good. But mostly, from my opinion, because there's plenty of fucking cheesy award show jokes that get made every single year at every single award show. I can stomach some bad bits and some bad jokes. You don't have to really knock it out of the park for me to be okay with it. I think that by the time they made it to the Snoop Dogg bit, I'm like, all right, guys, I think that you're vastly overestimating who your audience is by thinking that everyone thinks that weed jokes are really funny. But, as we're agreeing on this point that somebody should have had a better eye for editing those jokes down maybe to like one or two here and there. And every time they did cut to her live, it was very much like, weed, I'm eating a brownie,
Every joke in the book, every joke in the weed book was made. But I mean, that goes back to what I said. It's like, you have to put fault on MTV for feeding into it with this shit.
I'm
waiting for the first, disagree.
To go to that point, I think that, let me preface this.
Okay.
So I think I read an article, or at least a quote from Miley Cyrus saying that when she's doing sort of all these over-the-top things, you know, they're great, they're fun, they're whatever, but she wore like a regular, what looks like a regular outfit to some recent event. And some journalists had slammed her as like, when she's not doing all these crazy things, then Miley's really boring.
But that's...
Well, let me finish.
No, I'll let you finish.
I think that's such a sad reality that I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I'm saying that this is the reality that maybe this particular marketing strategy has created for her, that once you sort of make your living off of shocking people, if you decide that you want to stop shocking people, you have to do it in a way that people can make sense of, or give them a reason to pay attention to you otherwise. You know what I mean?
That's the part where I fail to find it in me to respect her. Because I feel like people are always going to call you boring if you don't do what you're known for. So now Miley has become known for being a shock factor, being kind of wild and different and weird, because she's created that. You know, that's where she's taken herself and her image and her brand. So in any situation similar, people are always going to say, if you don't do that, you're boring. So it's always going to be that factor compelling that person to continue that shtick. What I don't respect Miley for is not only like not making whatever. I don't know what I want Miley to be doing. I just know it's not this. And I'm sure she can make great music still. That's not the kind of music that she's...
She can. She's
Yeah,
talented.
I know she's talented. I've heard some songs of hers. Everyone has heard songs of Miley's that were not bad. Like Party in the USA. Like, yeah, it was very top 40, whatever, and it was a while ago. But that's not bad music. You made that. You are 100% capable of making lots more hits. And hits, not shit that people are looking at because it's crazy.
But... see, I fundamentally disagree with you there. Maybe it's someone's goal not just to pump out poppy hits.
That's fine.
I think that at least what Miley is currently doing is making music that resonates with her on a personal level. I mean, yeah, Party in the USA is a great song. I mean, but I don't really know a person that's going to listen to that and be like, yeah, dude, this shit fucking changed my life. Not at all. It's pop music.
I don't think there's anything wrong with someone making music that speaks to their soul and that reflects what they're really thinking every day. But I just don't think that's what Miley's doing. I think she's trying to
you think she's selling shock value?
Yeah, I think she's like, look how crazy I'm being. You're going to automatically look at this and then say, oh, wow, she's deep and weird and stay relevant. Like that. I feel like it's like just not real. It's just not real to me.
Well, let me paint you a possible other scenario.
Okay.
Miley is a child star. Her father was a singer. Is it possible that she just was raised in a household where you're praised for creativity, you're praised for doing whatever you want, and she's been a working individual for many years now, that this really is an expression of herself?
Sure, that's possible. I just think that she can continue expressing herself without so much of the shit that's pissing me off.
Well, okay, here's another point that I think is important that I had read on Twitter. Someone was praising Miley Cyrus for, having not very many clothes on during the VMAs, because what it's actually doing is it's desensitizing people to the female form, which I think is a really cool and important thinking thought thing. Good sentence, Jenna. Thank you. Like, if you think about it in that way,
I won't disagree with that.
She is, in theory, helping us become desensitized to the female form, and that it's not all sexual, and that if you're wearing something that's hardly even there, hey guys, this is my body, it's in your face. And she does that relentlessly through social media. And sure, I think some of it might be shock value, and some of it might be actually her. Some of it might be just she wants some attention. Who knows? Who cares? A lot of us have been in our young 20s, and I know what it's like to want some attention.
Yeah.
But I think that she is doing some good by being so shocking. Whether it be her work with the homeless LGBTQ LMNOP youth Sorry, I just added on a bunch of letters because I forgot which order they
Yeah,
went
that's
in.
a lot of letters.
No disrespect, I just forgot which letter they went on, so I just added a bunch.
LGBTQ.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Elemental P. Homeless youth and just being an advocate for gay rights and legalization of marijuana.
Okay.
But let me finish.
All right.
I think that she's doing a good job at using her voice for good and using her body for some good, even if it's not her intention or she's set out to do that. It's always important, I think, when you see a woman that is clearly liberated in a lot of ways that many of us wish that we were. She is helping people to stop thinking that everything is about sex or about drugs, that it might just be about freedom.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I think you're right that her ability to show off parts of her body that aren't traditionally shown off in the context of what she is. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it is absolutely contributing to the desensitization of naked bodies in this country, because that is an issue. Like people freak out at that shit.
Right, unless you look like
reason.
a Victoria's Secret model, we want you to put it away. And in our last podcast when we talked about Kim Kardashian, she also casually made it okay to be a fuller figured woman.
Yeah. No,
she redefined the norm of attractiveness.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's a whole entire.
And it's important for if you're a skinny girl like Miley, you're putting that out there too.
Yeah,
this is beautiful. I'm beautiful. My body is beautiful, and I'm not sorry for you seeing it.
I think you have a good point. Okay, I think you have a good point. I think we have a lot of fucked up issues with that kind of stuff in this country, and I'm sure that what Miley is doing is contributing to desensitizing people for whatever reason they're desensitized.
In a not sexual way, in just a liberty way.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. Yeah. I can, honestly. And I don't want this podcast to come off as me just shitting on Miley. I don't. Like, I know I'm being intense and I thought this out, but I think I really got bugged watching her last night, thinking that she was doing stuff that she wasn't.
Yeah, no, I understand and I see your point that in watching her performance last night, watching her host the show, it can absolutely be read without question that this is all kind of an act. It's all kind of for shock value. Yeah. It's all like the lowest hanging fruit of how to get people to pay attention to you.
Yeah.
I can understand that argument wholeheartedly.
Okay, thank you. And I don't think she's incapable of doing shocking things and being a shocking person successfully and tastefully. Like, I think she can absolutely do that. And I think she has done certain things that have been tasteful and good,
Yeah, well, you brought up Lady Gaga, and my 2 cents on Lady Gaga is that she is undeniably talented and wonderful. Unfortunately, I think when she started, this is just an opinion. When she started, you can't fit her into a box of a pop star. You're not quite beautiful or sexy enough to be able to sell the sex that really sells in pop.
Yeah. Which I think was kind of intentional on her part. Like, she didn't dress like.
Well, let me just finish.
I'm just adding that in because you're saying she wasn't as beautiful, or she didn't fit into that beauty standard. I think that was partly intentional on her part.
Well, let me just finish. Okay. She's not marketable as a pop star the way that pop was. There was no place for a person like that. You're really, really talented, but I imagine how many doors got slammed in her face. No, because she's just a very normal looking girl. She's not like Britney Spears. You're not an all-American. We can't sell you to sell Abercrombie jeans. You know what I mean? Think of the Jessica Simpsons, the Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, all these people that are selling pop music because they're mostly selling sex and beauty and all-Americanness. And then you have somebody maybe like Pink, where her image is very like, fuck all you bitches, and I'm going to sing pseudo rock songs and whatever I want. That's her image.
Yeah.
They couldn't really figure out an image for Lady Gaga to have. So I think it's interesting that you're pointing out that you don't like Miley for selling shock value, when in theory, all Lady Gaga sold us was shock value.
It just felt so much more substantial with Lady Gaga, and it has.
Well,
and it
do
still
you
does.
think that maybe that's possible? Because
because she's already done it?
Yes, but also because Lady Gaga maybe isn't selling you drugs, and although she has, as much as Miley has, in my opinion, sold you drugs and...
No.
Okay.
But she doesn't put it in your face like Miley does.
Okay, but that the theatrics, the costumes, all of that is a vessel for you to listen to her voice and take her seriously, because we need a reason to see who you are first, because we overlooked you because you looked like everyone else.
Yeah.
So I think her marketing strategy to get her voice out there was art.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Making it a visual performance as much as it is an audio performance.
Okay.
So I think that Miley is using the same strategy that Lady Gaga did, but unfortunately what I think is happening with Lady Gaga now is because the masses were consuming her product because they were like really excited about this shocking art that was happening, like her VMA performance when there's blood all over her.
Yeah.
You know, fast forward a few years later and she's having a throw up artist throwing up on her while she's performing, and everyone doesn't care anymore, because when you start selling shock value, all you can ever do is one up yourself until you can't one up yourself anymore.
Yeah.
So, you know, it barely made any headlines that she's got this puke performer drinking green liquid and then throwing it up on Lady Gaga while she's performing, and this is art, because you can't shock us anymore.
Yeah.
I think what's difficult about Miley Cyrus is that, yes, she's selling us shock, but even over the course of 2 years now, we're kind of a little bit not shocked anymore.
Yeah.
You know? So that's the danger in selling shock.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't see anything wrong with it. And I think that a lot of people that appreciate Lady Gaga and appreciate Miley, maybe, like, you're not really paying attention because of the shock. I will listen to your music and hear you out regardless.
Yeah.
And Lady Gaga's music is wonderful no matter what. Yeah. You know, you have to reel it in and go from there. Like, she did her whole Tony Bennett album and stuff. That's where you go from shock value. You go back to square one and say, all right, I got people's attention.
Now what do I do?
Now I want people to listen to my music and take me seriously.
Yeah.
So I think naturally Miley might phase out of shocking us and back into a place where, hey guys, just want you to take my music seriously. Thanks.
Well, I'm honestly hoping for that. And I think that right now is just kind of an odd middle period for her, like a weird transition period. Can we take a quick break and say thanks to
MeUndies?
MeUndies is sponsoring this podcast, guys. This is an underwear company twice as soft as cotton. It's an amazing material. We have a bunch of pairs, and I think we're going to get some more soon. But it's clearly, I mean, like, it keeps you cool. It's very comfortable. They're made of quality fabrics.
Nice and stretchy.
And another thing which you can appreciate if you're like me is they have a lot of really cool designs. It's not just black and white. They have stuff like this. And like I said, very soft. And, you know, if you're not satisfied, you can get your money back and 20% off your first MeUndies purchase.
I like to call that one nude with excitement.
MeUndies.com/Jenna Julien. Nude with excitement. Well, because it is nude, but then there's excitement on top.
Nude with excitement.
Well, you're pale a little bit. That's kind of pale. Pale, but with excitement. Pale nude. Person who doesn't tan a lot, but is also nude.
And excited. On their bottom.
MeUndies, MeUndies.com/Jenna Julien for 20% off. Guys, let us know. And I know a lot of you guys have already told us you like them, so thank you, MeUndies.
Thank you, MeUndies.
Yeah, you know, you bring up a good point. And I think the fact that Lady Gaga can't really outshock herself at this point, and she has kind of forced herself to just like go back to the drawing board a little bit. It's a good example of where shock takes you. It gets you like a lot of attention, and then you kind of have to figure something else out. And maybe it is true. Maybe Miley is trying to, like, you know, jumpstart people a little bit and say, hey, pow, look at this. You know, I'm being completely polarizing, or I think I am, or I'm doing things that I don't think people are doing at all. And, you know, in a sense, she's right. The nude thing where she's, you know, not afraid to show her body on social media and kind of in other contexts, that's fair. I will agree that is not all horrible.
Yeah, it is. I think, and that's a matter of opinion.
No, absolutely. But I'm agreeing with
I think that it might be serving some good.
No, I'm agreeing with that opinion. What I stand by is her attempts at getting headlines and her attempts at humor. And I think maybe she would win me over, just not in the settings that she's been in. The VMA, that was not her setting. Win me over somewhere else. You know, do something wild and different somewhere else. That just wasn't the place for it. It honestly felt a little bit disrespectful, just because there was a lot of people there. There's a lot of people watching. There's a lot of very talented people. Not that Miley isn't, but for her to get up there and just kind of be Miley, like be that the weed smoking Miley that she's been lately, just so in everyone's face. It's just like, I feel like I wasn't the only one who was just a little like cringy and kind of over it.
Yeah, I'm sure you weren't.
But yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I think Miley's next step, or couple of steps, or whatever she decides to move towards next, could be something that I enjoy greatly, and a lot of people could enjoy greatly, or appreciate, or recognize as more of substantial art or activities, or whatever she's doing. I just think that the way that she came off didn't make me feel like being a fan of hers.
I can understand that 100%.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, I appreciate you like listening to my tirade.
It's all good. I think that Miley's very talented. I think that she comes from a unique position in that she was a child star, and I wouldn't, you know, I can't say what I would do in her shoes, but I understand maybe coming from the Disney Channel, having a very famous dad, you know, being treated like much younger than you are for much longer than you are is probably very frustrating and annoying. Yeah. And I don't want to be Hannah Montana for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I want to be myself.
Yeah.
And her feeling like she really needed to make a big statement and continue to make a big statement. Because once you make a big statement the way that she did with cutting her hair and, you know, putting out the album, it's very Wrecking Ball and all of that, you know, once you go there, you run the risk of, you know, being called boring after that. They're like, well, what are you going to do to one-up yourself? Yeah. And it's an impossible game to win.
Yeah.
So I think that she's...
that's something I'm taking away from what you're saying. It's a hard game to play and win when you try to constantly one up yourself.
Yeah, but I think there might be more to it than that. It might also just be, A, that is who she really is, which is fine. B, she's trying to find her own independence, her own voice. Yeah. And sometimes the only way to do that is to really just give negative fucks.
Yeah. Well, I
was appreciating her negative fuck zone last night because I saw those outfits, I saw her hair, I saw her performance, and I just... it relates to Kanye to me. I appreciate anyone that is doing their own thing and saying fuck you to everyone else.
Well, here's like I think the negative fucks thing and doing whatever she wants is a great thing, and I think that I've seen her do that, but I don't think last night was as pure of an example of her doing that. It felt like she was like, hey, look at how few fucks I'm giving. Look at all the weed I smoke. It was more just like of her trying instead of just not fucking giving a fuck. Like, I've seen instances where she just didn't care. And that was something I can understand because that's her trying to find her voice and just not really care at all. But last night felt like it was that, but like... Well,
don't you feel like there were expectations for her to be a certain way? And MTV had probably pushed her into doing a couple of those bits?
Yeah, but MTV's at fault too, because they participated in all those bits, and I didn't like them. I'm serious. Like, I mean, you're right, though. You said it earlier. Who at MTV was like, okay, let's make 45 weed jokes, and no one at MTV at the meeting is going to be like, that's a little much.
But that's also, you have to remember how they keep these television award shows alive. They need to have controversial things happen. They need to keep themselves in the tabloids the next day, or else they can't afford to keep having them every year.
I don't disagree with that. I just hate that that's a reality.
The VMAs are historically some of the most unruly quarterly award shows you can go to.
Yeah.
Like, MTV welcomes the unexpected things to happen because they want it to be controversial.
Yeah.
So my assumption is, Miley might not be a great host. She might make a bunch of weed jokes, but at least she's getting us ratings.
Yeah.
MTV is participating in that train of
we need
shock
ratings.
value.
Yeah.
We need
That's
things
part
to
of the problem.
happen. We
That's
need to
part of the problem.
orchestrate some drama and some controversy, or else there would be no more VMAs because it's really hard to get people to give a fuck about what the best video of the year is. I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah. Fair enough. I'm not disagreeing. I just hate that is a thing. I hate that dynamic exists. I hate that problem that is fed into. I don't like it. But I mean, you're right. You're right. MTV didn't do it because they were fans of Miley. They did it because they knew she was going to get huge numbers.
Well, yeah, it's all sort of a fucked up system.
No, I don't like it at all.
Miley needs MTV. You can't be on MTV's bad side.
Yeah.
MTV needs Miley to be Miley and maybe not who Miley wants to be if it's different than her image.
Fair enough.
If Miley was sure, I'd love to host the VMAs, but, I've been feeling kind of tired of this shtick lately. Is it cool if I'm just myself?
They would have been no, fuck off. We'll get someone else.
No, you can't do that.
No, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Have you heard any of her new album?
No, the Dead Pets one that she announced? No,
Yeah.
I was thinking of looking it up, but then I got distracted with a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, it was late last night, and I had listened to Tangerine with her and Big Sean, and that was the only song I listened to. But it sounds different. It's not bad different. It's just
I'll check it out. I want to check it out. And you know what? Maybe there needs to be an eventual part 2 to this podcast.
Yeah.
For some closure, but I needed to get some of that off my chest. I will listen to her album. I
was confused because there's fucking 25 songs on there.
Wow.
Yeah, she gives no fucks. That's no fucks. And some of them are, the weirdest titles ever, but do you. And you just put out an album for free, and there's a billion songs on here.
Yeah.
It's like the way you dropped Nightmare Fuel. No fuck zone.
Yeah. You're right.
It's respectable.
You're right. I've learned some things, and I've heard you say some things on this podcast that I did not think were going to change the way I felt, and you have changed the way I felt a little bit. Just a little wee bit.
Well, what are the ones that you're still holding on to?
She's not 100% genuine. Mm-hmm. And we don't have to keep hashing it out right now. All I'm saying is that, I'll watch her, and I want to see what she does next, because I do think it's an interesting situation, and I don't necessarily think she's reached her final form, if you will.
Well, no one's ever reached their final form.
You know what I mean, though.
Well, look at somebody like Madonna that used to sell shock for years and still tries to.
Yeah.
It eventually comes off kind of tired.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I think if anything, Lady Gaga is making a great choice in just turning it around and being fuck everyone, I'm a real person.
Yes, I agree.
I'm going to stop wearing costumes.
Yeah.
That was me then. I'm just a little different now, so just whatever.
Yeah.
I still might throw on some weird eyebrows every once in a while because art.
Some weird eyebrows because art.
I wanted to make a whole fucking album, Tony Bennett. Fuck everybody. That's what she said. That's fucking dope.
Yeah. Well, maybe Miley's in that weird stage right now. She'll figure...
Well, how old is Miley?
I don't know, 24?
Do you want me to look it up?
My guess is 25. I would guess 25.
I will look up how old Miley Cyrus is. But, she's not that old.
She's in her mid to young to mid 20s.
Mid to young to mid 20s. She's 22.
22. Wow. Younger than me.
I mean, she's gone through several transformations as a professional already.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
That is a lot.
For a 22-year-old.
No, there's a lot. And she's always dealt with a lot, so I'll give her a little slack. Here's a little slack, Miley.
He's giving you a make-believe rope.
Okay, she took it.
Thank
you for taking it, Miley.
That's good. I'm glad.
Maybe Miley should order some MeUndies so she's not naked all the time.
They do feel nice on your butt.
This feels so good. You good?
I'm good with that.
I'm good too.
Good podcast.
Good podcast. Pupcast and pup. Let us know your comments in the comments. Let us know your comments in the comments.
Yeah, and be honest.
Be honest. If you hate what I said, tell me you hate what I said. Just don't call me a dick.
Yeah. No, not at all. And you're entitled to your opinion. Good English.
We've done 2 podcasts tonight. We're harding the English.
Yeah, and no, but for real, feel free to be honest, because Julian, what I appreciated was that you were very honest.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, maybe keeping it PG. Don't be too mean about me or Julian or Miley.
Yeah.
Keep it constructive and be kind to each other.
But be straight up and let us
But be honest and tell us your thoughts, because it's an interesting thing, and she has really put herself out there, and I'd be interested to know people's opinions.
For sure, likewise. Yeah. And while you're at it, check out MeUndies.com. That's MEUndies.com / Jenna Julien.
Yeah.
For 20% off the most comfortable underwear you've ever put on that ass.
The most comfortable underwear ever. You might put it on your head and wear it as a hat.
That's true.
To your birthday party. I've worn that one as a hat. The nude exciting.
Yes. Well, it gets weird in our house sometimes. So we love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye, friends.
All right. Bye.